Hi all, Bones here from OzBSA Banners. My apologies first for not having posted a video in a couple of weeks. As you well know, we were away. We got back, pretty busy time getting a couple of bikes ready, which I will show you shortly. And we did about 2,500 Ks all up on our trip. So I'll take you around the other side and show you what I'm actually up to right now. Okay, so what I've got here is a set of Velocette girder forks, and I've been asked to make up new spindles and rebush these set of forks. Now there's a couple of issues that we've got, and that is that some of these links here, so we've got the links that go across here and here, they're not, well, we're not 100% sure they're actually Velocette. So the problem is when you have, I'm not sure if most people understand how the girder forks work. So you've got, this is one of your spindles, and as you can see it's shouldered there and shouldered there on this one. So you have a nut that goes on there, and usually got a square drive on this end. So when that's in place, that can actually turn, but the square drive will actually pull the nut down on this side and start preloading up the side thrust on your forks. So we've got our bottom spindles made. I've had to make up, this setup here is your friction damper for your rebound. I've had to make up a nylon spacer to fit that in, and a little cap to make it look neat. That'll get painted. New spindles, you can see this one's hanging out because I'm not 100% sure what the setup is to clamp this up. So I've left myself a bit of meat to play with as per that. These will end up having a square drive machined on the end, something like that. I don't know if you can pick that up, but square drive on the end. So yeah, that's one of the jobs that we've got on at the moment. But I'll take out the lathe and show you what I'm doing, because the biggest pain in the bum is that I can't buy 7/16 bar stock off the shelf. So I'm having to set it up, machine down a piece of 12mm bar stock down to 7/16, which is a real pain. But anyway, so we'll go over the lathe and we'll get that done. So we're just turning down to dimension there, and I will polish the last half a thou that's on it to make sure it's all parallel, so I'm cutting over a fair distance. Alright, I've done my machining. I've got a tiny little bit of run out, and you can see that surface finish is pretty good because I've already been polishing it a bit. So nominal size for 7/16 is 437 thou, so I've got about half a thou on just in here, so I'll polish it out. Okay, so I've had to machine down one end down to 3/8 of an inch, and what I'm going to do is exactly the same as this one, 1/2 inch cycle thread at one end, 3/8 cycle thread for the shoulder down the other end. So I'm just about to cut the thread on there. Just going to use a button die. In the tailstock, back it up and just spin it over. Make sure your lathe's off and out of gear, obviously, but that's it. We'll get into it. Alright, I hope that focuses. So you can see the top one there, up here. Now I've got to put, that's a reduction in diameter to take the square that we're going to mill on the end of it, and then our 1/2 inch cycle thread. So you can see I've done both ends down here, so it's just time to finish this end up. So that's our two spindles for the top linkage. As I said there'll be some squares get milled onto that. I'm not doing that yet because I want to determine the length of the bottom pins in the bottom linkage, and then machine up the squares on these all together. So what I'm going to go on with now is make some nuts, and in order to make some nuts I've got to make some hex. It's a challenge. Righto, so hopefully you can see that okay. It looks a little bit dark, my apologies. But these are all the different nuts that came with this setup. Different thicknesses, different AF sizes. You know, that's even a different thickness to that one, to that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mill up some hex bar, and I'll make all the nuts the same AF size, irrespective of what the thread diameter is. So even if you put one of the big ones up, oh, well actually they fit in that. But that's half-inch cycle thread on that side, and on the other side it's 3/8. So I'll still do the same size AF nuts just to make it look neat. I've done this before on another couple of girder fork restorations I've done, so it turns out pretty well. Another thing we've been production running is these, and if you're not quite sure what they are, this might give you a hint. Cycle thread, and these actually are the adapters for the horns. So we actually make these up. That's a cycle thread on there to screw into the this has had the thread cut on it. All these ones down here haven't. Justin's about to go on to the center lathe and actually screw cut those. And then we will mill a set of flats on the, just 2 flats on this, and then fit up the horn and solder the horn in. So there is a bit of work involved, and that's actually reflected in the price of these, but I do sell an awful lot of them, probably, I don't know, 30 to 40 a year. So that's just one of the unique things that we make here at Osbandams, and to my knowledge I think we're the only ones in the world that can supply a replacement horn with the correct adapter that screws in. But we'll, in a little while, we'll show you the screw cutting of this diameter on the end. Righto, so what Justin's doing here is actually screw cutting the pretty standard cycle thread on the back of these horn adapters. Right, and you see the reason, some people would say it's been screw cut very slow. The reason for that is this lathe has no brake, and we're running the tool out into an undercut. So 26 TPI cycle thread there, and right now I'm about to go and set these up on the milling machine to start milling the flats on them whilst I've got the indexing head there. Okay, you can hear Justin over in the background there just screw cutting these adapters. And what we've done now, we've actually changed the setup in the indexing head so we can mill the flats that are on here. So I've already set it up, so we don't want to climb mill, we want to upcut. So I've got, you won't be able to see the dial indicator, the digital readout up top, but we'll drop this cutter now down to depth, and then we'll bring the cutter back over this side by winding the job that way, and then we'll turn around 180 degrees, and then we'll cut the flat on the other side. So let's get into it. just winding it down to depth. Right, we'll start going across. I'm just taking it nice and easy, and we're just about through to the other side. This gives a tiny little back cut, which is cleaning up really nicely. It's a nice sharp new uni mill cutter, so it's doing a good job. Right, that's through, and you can see the flat there. Right, wind it out of the way. Turn this around. Lock it up. Cut it back down to depth. And off we go again. Just mill out the other side. Alright, so that's our flat. That's our surface finish. A little bit of crusty stuff there, I'll clean that off. And actually this bit of paper here. So I just wrap that around the thread when I hold it in the indexing head to prevent any damage to the threads, and as you can see, they're fine. So this is nearly done now. We've just got to solder in a little threaded portion that the horn screws into there, rubber bulb on there, and we're done. Okay, so what else we've been up to is the last couple of weeks is working on this lovely little 1949 rigid sent down to us from Mildura. Customer wanted us to go through everything. Basically, we've had a lot of different people work on it and not work on it very well. There was nothing majorly wrong with this bike, but there was an awful lot of little stuff wrong with it, such as, you know, the wrong hardware around the axle in the rear wheel. There was 7 washers that they just dropped in there to space everything out, and the distance placed between the 2 bearings they actually cut for some reason, which is beyond me, and packed that up as well. Anyway, the foundations of this bike were always going to be there. I mean, it's terrific, but you know, there was just a lot of little things that weren't quite right with it. We've pulled the engine down, we've gone through the engine. They had a massive head gasket in there, which I reckon was an eighth of an inch thick, and the customer said that after about 200 kilometres of riding it blew, and I'm not surprised. However, the reason they had a massive head gasket in there was because the piston pokes up through the barrel. Someone's machined the top of the barrel off. So we have set the head up, machined a relief in the head so the piston can come and clear it, put it all back together. This thing actually goes pretty well, obviously now, because the compression's up a little bit. Interestingly enough, when this bike turned up, the front axle broke on the trailer where they had it strapped down. It turned up here, and the front axle had actually snapped through. So we obviously had to replace the front axle, and it damaged the mudguard stay, but we've got all that done. The customer had the original cable operated Y-pack light, but it wasn't on the bike. There was another one with some sort of switch system, so we've fitted up the early model cable operated switch. So about to get some fuel in this, and Justin and I are actually going to go for a run this afternoon, give these bikes a good run, this one and the pastoral that we've been working on, we've got that finished, so I'll bring that out in just a sec. So the other job we've got done is the D7 pastoral that we've been working on for a couple of months, basically. Well, more. I think we started it in January, but we had a heap of work with getting bikes ready for Celtic Speech. Anyway, it's all done. I've got a couple of little paint touch-ups I'll do on the mud garden around the other side on the side cover, but today we just want to give it a run, make sure carby settings are alright, plug colour's good, and just go out and go for a run on it, make sure everything's alright before we do a couple of little finishing off jobs. So I'm actually pretty happy the way this has turned out, considering what it was when we first got it. If you're not sure, go back through some of our workshop updates. Back to January, I think we started this one, and you'll have a look about how the bike came in. It's actually pretty grubby. We haven't even polished it yet, so it's going to come up really good with a polish. So yeah, we'll get kitted up and we'll head out for a run down the road. So we've just been out for a run, just pulled up on the side of the road just to check plugs and things like that. Both plug colours are looking good. However, this D7 has some gearbox issues again. So we're heading back home and we'll go and sort that out. This thing's running like an absolute champion. So it runs really, really well. So time to head back off. So the wash up with after running the two bikes the other day, the D7 was having gear change issues between second and third. It sort of resolved itself, and I think there's a lot to do with that. It's just having some runtime on the engine. It's got new bushes through, like main shaft bushes, lay shaft bushes, all that sort of stuff. So just to get the gearbox to settle a bit. It does have a little bit of an issue sometimes, but you know, I'm not going to start pulling the engine down to try and hunt something. I mean, the gearbox is 60 plus years old, and it's got a bit of wear, and you can, you know, might do it in one in 20 gear changes. You might have a little bit of an issue where you've got to tap the gear lever again. I'm not too worried about that. The D1 is an absolute cracking bike. I'm looking forward to taking that out for a run again, and I'm going to. The horns. So we're up to this stage here on all our horn adapters. So what happens is we drill and tap a hole in there to take that. So they just fit in and screw together. Then I just cut the horn off. That's the way I buy them. And then we just put a bulb on the end, and then that's our horn unit. So that's about a year's supply for us. So the machine, we've still got a little bit of machining to do to drill and tap the hole, but I'll do that on the turret lathe, which won't take long. So there's 30 something in there that will take an hour to drill and tap all of those. So yes, there's a little bit of work done in it. It'll probably take us a day for Justin and I to make those. So yeah, then I've got to go along, as I said, cut all those off, fit them all up, and then we've got another batch of horns ready to sell. And we haven't got any on the shelf at the moment, and people have been asking. The girder forks, I have just sourced some hex to standardise all the nuts on the girders. As I said earlier on, it's a bit of a mismatch of parts. However, we can get around it. I won't go into the technical explanations of how they work, but some of the components are supposed to be threaded. So when you preload up your side thrust, I'm just going to make a little small lock nut to be able to lock it up, because when you adjust it, it's supposed to be one component's supposed to be threaded, and we don't know if it's even velocet, because this is, as I said, it's a pre-war bike, 38. I think the forks are supposed to be suitable for. So we're working that, and we're getting there, and that's actually progressing pretty well. But as I said, I've just had to source some hex bar. To give you a bit of an idea, especially the people in the UK, for me to go to the steel shop to get steel, it's over a 2-hour drive. So I can't just duck down and see what they got. And sometimes things like specialty hexes and things like that. They just haven't got. I do have a good working relationship with some of the machine shops in town, and luckily enough they had some hex left over the right size that I wanted and good enough length, so they've helped me out there, so that was a good fix. So that's about it. That's about where we're up to at the moment in the workshop. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and this catch up after we've got back from our holidays, and for all my subscribers, new and old, thank you very, very much. If you haven't clicked like or subscribe, please do. We're nudging close to 500 subscribers, and it really does make putting all these videos together really worthwhile. So from Justin and I at Oz Bannons, we'll see you.